Welcome back to the Hillbilly RV channel. What are we doing today, Cam?
Recabling the Popup.
This will be part 3 of basket case pop-up. The customer actually doesn't like that, but that's what I came up with, so I'm sticking with it. And then it was a basket case. And I still don't know whether we're going to be working on any of the cabinets or not, other than the one that we took out, which I mentioned in that last video. But yeah, we're going to start recabling tonight, finally. So we're just going to jump right straight into this one and get started. Because, oh, I just noticed Cameron's out of uniform.
I am. I forgot the hat.
Where's his hat?
Sitting inside.
I don't know if we'll get anything done there or not without his hat.
I'm already feeling a little bit off without it. Just doesn't feel natural.
I know you hat people, you know how he feels, because I would feel the same way. So, hey, let's just tear right into this thing. Pretty tight quarters in here in this pop-up, so don't y'all get in my way now. We're going to start out by pushing this spring out so we can get a hold of the puck and the cable. So y'all watch there. I'm going to go over here and push this spring through. You'll get to see that process here in a minute, maybe. We'll move to the other end when we do another one, and that way you can see that.
All right.
All right. Still gotta get that spring out there enough to get the button in the end of it. So here's our puck. That's what that thing's called, a puck. The cable just goes in the end of it, and that's what actually pushes your spring as the cable is pulling. Now that we got the cable exposed, we are going to just cut this end off. We're going to tape our new cable to this and pull the new cable in with the old cable. That's how it's supposed to work. It doesn't always. Sometimes it comes loose part way through, but usually this works pretty well. So I'm just going to tape the new one to the old one, and I bought 100 foot of cable, and I think that should be plenty. Seems like the last one we done was about the same size box. By box I mean just the size of the camper itself, not including the beds and all that. And seemed to me like I bought 100 foot and we had maybe 10 or 12 feet left over. Just tape this to it, not put a lot of tape because you don't want it being too thick. Already you're going to be pulling 2 cables through an area that was really only designed for 1 cable. What we'll have is we'll have one person on one end feeding the cable in, make sure it doesn't get stuck anywhere. And we'll have somebody on the other end pulling, and that usually works pretty well. Give me a little tug on them cables, let's make sure which one we got here. That's the wrong one. There you go. All right. Just slow and easy, but all right, camera's pulling it while I'm guiding it. Hopefully it'll go around all of our pulleys and stuff. So you'll be seeing that pretty soon.
Yep.
Awesome. Been pull enough so you can stand up. All right, we got it this far. We'll have to manually get around that pulley down there in the corner and everything. So the camera's just getting the tape off. And you've probably seen me, I wiped that old cable off a little bit before I tried to tape the new one to it, because that, you know, all these pusher springs and stuff are greased, so the cable gets a little bit slimy. So always try and make sure you clean it up good before you try to tape your new cable to it. Since some of these were disassembled before we ever got here, that's why we have to just go ahead and thread the cables through some of this stuff. We just don't have an opportunity to pull it through because it's not how it was when we found it. So we just want to make sure that we have plenty. So I am going to, because here's where it needs to go. So I'm just going to pull that like that. I'm going to tape this so that while we're working on the other end, it doesn't slip on us. And I'm going to come back around here. We'll have something to work with. Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and cut this off, and then we'll pull it out a little bit. We'll get our end put on and get our puck slid over the cable. And these are cutters that are specially designed for this cable. They work very, very well. You didn't just pull that cable out, did you? Mm-mm. Oh, okay, there it is. Phew! Oh, we lost it. I need to pull a little bit though.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. We'll pull it back in a minute.
Oh, okay, okay. I was about to say.
No, I'm just gonna get my end on there. There you go. Okay.
Yeah, I got real scared for a second.
No, we're good. Now this is 1/8 inch cable that we're working with. Here's our furls, and we're going to get one crimped on there that will look very similar to this one that we just cut off a while ago. I'll try and find these cutters and put those in my Amazon store, along with a lot of other tools that we use and parts that we use. The cables and the furls, I actually just buy the cable in bulk at Lowe's, typically, and just make my own cables. So yeah, we could buy them, but you know, it doesn't take very long to make cables, and they're just as good as any that you would buy. You just put that cable through the furl and then back through the furl, and we're going to pull it as tight as we can get it. It's not going to be as tight as theirs. I can guarantee that, because they just never are. But we do the best that we can. I'm sure they've got a lot of specialty tools to do this stuff with. I got some specialty tools too, like this hydraulic crimper. I know it is in my Amazon store, and I actually I did a video, a review on this tool. I will put a link to that review on this tool right here, so you can go check that out. This thing does a pretty good job. Way easier than the manual crimpers for doing this. Way easier. especially when you're working in a tight spot. The old manual crimper, I used them for years, and done a fantastic job. But man, they kind of look like bolt cutters, and say they do a good job. But man, it takes a lot of effort to crimp these furrows, especially if you're like replacing the main cable, or you're working on or if you're working on a Goshen lift system, which this is an L&W. L&W will usually use either an 1/8 inch cable or a 3/32 cable for your 4 lift cables, with about a 3/16 main cable. So you start crimping 3/16 furrows with a manual crimper, and you're in for some work. So we got our end crimped on, put our puck on, slide it right in the floor bracket with our spring. So I'm just going to push this spring up in here, and I know my arm's in the way, but it'll be all right. Slide that spring up in there. All right, Cameron, you want to pull on that a little bit, bud? All right, you got her. Go ahead and. Hey, whoa. All right, go ahead. The L&M system always used 1/4 inch eye bolts, and a lot of times, see, we got one eye bolt that's broke, we got another one that broke off once before, and it's all bent up, it's opened up. A lot of times when I see these cables broke, sometimes it's not the cable, it's the eye bolt. They'll straighten out or break off. So I always go back with 5/16 eye bolts. So I gotta drill this plate out a little bit, and we'll always weld the eyes shut on my eye bolts. We're gonna get one of these eye bolts out, get the hole drilled out, and we'll get those eyes welded shut. Then we'll be back.
Well, quick question real quick.
Certainly.
So this is your winch, right?
Correct.
Do you want that cranked all the way up, or let it all the way out before you start this?
Well, you want it cranked most of the way up, because otherwise you're crawling around on the floor. That's why we raised the pop-up up, so we'd have a place to work. So yeah, you want it almost all the way in before you start. So yeah, good question. I got that hole in that plate drilled out to 5/16. Got our eye bolts welded shut so they can't spread. We'll get that stuck in there. Get this cable out of the way. Here is our new one. Run it through the eye bolt. Cameron's going to hand us a furrow. And y'all see that grease got on that cable? I'll say these things can get pretty slimy while you're working on them. Pulling it through a lot of greasy areas.
So do you leave that eye bolt all the way out just so you have a ton of room to adjust later on?
We have the maximum amount of adjustment. Yes, sir, young Cameron. Good question. You're full of good questions lately, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm trying.
All right, we're going to run that through that eye bolt. And then we're going to run our cable back through it again, because that's how they work. here is where it gets a little bit tricky. All right, Cameron is going to pull on this side, the tail side, pretty hard. And I'm going to slide this up here as far as I can slide it. I'm going to mark this cable so that we can tell if it slips. Mark it very boldly. We're going to put a pair of vice grips on it very gently so as not to damage the cable. And while Cameron holds that, I'm going to take this nut off, probably right in y'all's way. Okay. Now we have this cable out here where we can see, but you can't. Let me turn you around here. Alrighty. So we got the cable around here where we can work on it. I'm going to slide this back up, make sure. Let me move the light just a second so I can see. I'll make sure nothing slipped here. And then we're going to crimp this bad boy. Yep, looks fantastic. Get our hydraulic crimper out. And get those vice grips out of the way. Finish crimping. This crimper seems like it really takes three times to get that thing crimped good. If those jaws were just a little bit wider, you could get it in two. I don't know that it matters, but as you can see, that makes a pretty nice crimp. We bought this tool when we did our last pop-up re-cable, and I've been pretty impressed with it. I think it works pretty well. All right, now we're gonna get this stuck back together. Hope so, anyway. Because she's going to be a little bit tight now. Now we got some cable left over. We're going to snip that off. Just be very careful and snip the right cable off. And you always got to be really careful too, not to damage these cables. You know, even a little bit, because these cables are under a lot of pressure. So you don't want to damage these cables in any way. Cable number 1. We just have to do that 3 more times, and we'll have this thing knocked out. As soon as we get all the cables built and installed, then we will start adjusting, and we'll bring you back for that. Like I say, we're just gonna, what we just did, we're just gonna do 3 more times. It's just repetition, so we'll be back. Got anything to say, Cam?
Well, if it goes as smoothly as that one does, it shouldn't take too long.
Shouldn't. It probably helps that that corner up there is super exposed. Yeah. And I don't know, I don't have any idea what happened to this camper. You know, someone took great care to tear it down. Like I showed you in that last video, you know, they labeled the baggies with the screws in them and everything. And, you know, somebody had big plans for this camper. You know, I don't know what happened. Did they just lose interest? Decide it was a bigger project and they wanted to get involved in? Did someone get sick? Maybe somebody got sick, and, you know, that's how it ended up at auction. I mean, I have no idea the story. The new owners, you know, they bought an auction, so they have no idea, you know, what the story is behind this camper. But so I'll make them a nice camper. The canvas and everything on this is like perfect. I haven't seen a blemish anywhere on the fabric, on the, I mean, not even a stain. I mean, it's just like, it's pristine. You know, I don't know what happened to the floor, what caused it to rot out, but you know, that's the only thing I've seen wrong with this camper is, you know, that floor over on that side rotted and caused a lot of trouble in the cable system. So, like I said, we're gonna carry on and we'll be back when we get ready to adjust. We've already got all 4 cables made. That went very smooth, didn't it, Cameron? Almost scary smooth. So now's the moment of truth. We pull our props out and we let that top set on them cables. So yeah, that's why we make the big bucks, right? That's why he makes the big bucks, because he takes all the big chances. So let me move you guys back a little bit. Don't want you guys getting hurt. So we're gonna start pulling props. Ready? Okay, let her down. Didn't even move. We're just gonna go do the other 3. Two on the other side. It's hanging off the new cables. Now, we did do something really high tech. Cameron's gonna be going around with a tape measure, measuring each corner from the same point, and we're gonna just adjust those cables till all 4 sides are within about, I don't know, 3/4 of an inch or so. These things, nothing precise about these pop-ups, and you know, in the next, you know, after they use it a few times, might have to make a few more adjustments to the cables, because some of those cables are really long. I bet those 2 up on the front corner is probably 20 feet long, what do you think?
Yeah.
And one of these back here, probably not even 8 feet long. So I know 100 foot of cable was plenty enough. But those front cables are pretty long. So, you know, I mean, if they're gonna stretch, those are gonna stretch more than these back ones because they're much shorter. Because one of them's probably less than 8 feet long and the other one's probably less than 16 feet long. So yeah, so we're gonna start adjusting and then we'll be back. Well, by golly, that went pretty smooth. We hardly had to adjust it. Just had to adjust the long cables. I'm sure they're the ones that probably stretched the most when we get the top down on it. So that one went pretty smooth, didn't it, Cameron?
Oh yeah.
That's one of the easiest we've ever done. Of course, I think this pop-up's in better shape than any other pop-up we've ever had to work on either. It's a pity that the floor rotted out on that one side. Apparently it had a rain leak, and that's the way the camper was leaning or something. I don't know where the rain leak came from, because like I say, the canvas is all like pristine. If it gets wet, man, it stains horribly. So I don't know, but so what do you think of this one, Cam?
The easiest one we've done by far.
By far. So what are we gonna do now?
Go home. Eat.
You heard him. We're gonna go home and eat. Y'all have a fantastic day. We'll catch you next time. This will be part 3 of, what am I calling this? Oh, somebody's in here farting, Cameron. I don't know who it is.
Options are pretty slim.
Smells very familiar though. So the lift system, the Goshen.
Yeah, Goshen.